Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is all about the pension assessment in Sage 50 Payroll. My name's Alice. I'm going to be your host and presenter for the session, and I'm also joined by my colleague Duncan, who's behind the scenes ready to answer your questions in the Q&A throughout the session too. And a little look at what we'll be covering today too. So 4 main sections to the webinar. The first one is just to introduce it, so a bit of a recap of your pension duties, and then also what the pension assessment is and kind of when to run it. Followed by running the pension assessment itself, so how to do this and how to navigate the assessment as well and identify any changes that there might have been from one period to the next. We'll then look at postponement and opt-in and opt-out requests too, so when and how to apply these in the pension assessment for your employees. And then we'll finish with sending pension correspondence, so another feature of the pensions module. So how are you going to go and send that pension correspondence to your employees or mark them as sent as well? There's a couple of options in there which we'll be looking at. But first section is that introduction, so I do want to start with some information on your pension duties. So all employers do have certain duties to carry out when it comes to pensions. And first of all, I just want to go over the 4 automatic enrolment duties that you've got. So these will include choosing a pension scheme. So you must get this set up with your chosen pension provider as well. That second duty there is working out who to put into the pension scheme, otherwise known as assessing your employees, and whether or not they're going to be eligible for automatic enrolment into your scheme. You'll also need to write to your staff to explain how automatic enrolment applies to them, and this is otherwise known as sending pension correspondence. And a 4th step is to declare your compliance. So this is basically just declaring that your workplace pension is compliant and all of the information that you've provided is accurate too. So I have actually linked more information on advice on these 4 steps just from the Pensions Regulator website at the bottom of this slide. But they're your 4 kind of main automatic enrolment duties there. Once you've done these steps, you do have ongoing duties as an employer too. So a little bit about those ongoing duties as well. First one is to assess your employees. So each time you pay your employees, you've got to assess their age and wage to determine their worker type and see if they need to be enrolled in your pension scheme. Now you'd normally do this manually, or in today's case, that'll be via the pension assessment. So I'll be showing you that option. Every 3 years, you need to carry out re-enrolment duties, such as re-enrolling any employees who might have left your scheme. You need to continue paying into your pension scheme. And you must also manage requests to join or leave the scheme and keep record of this too. Again, more information on these ongoing duties at the bottom of this slide. But I just want to expand on a couple of them. So I will be talking about them quite a lot during the webinar. I would like to explain the worker types for your employees and just talk about these a little bit more, because when your employees are assessed, they will be assigned to one of these worker types. So that's going to be either entitled, eligible, or non-eligible. So an entitled employee, this would be somebody who's aged 16 to 74, working in the UK, earning below £6,240. And these employees would have a right to join your pension scheme. You've then got eligible, so these are employees aged 22 to state pension age and working in the UK, but they're earning above £10,000. These eligible employees, these are the employees who must be automatically enrolled into your pension scheme. And then lastly, you've got non-eligible. So a couple of different options for this. So they're either going to be aged 16 to 21 or state pension age to 74. Again, working in the UK, earning above £10,000, or aged 16 to 74, working in the UK, earning between £6,240 and £10,000. And these non-eligible employees, they do have a right to opt into your scheme. And I will talk about the difference between joining and opting in and things as we kind of go further into the webinar. But as I said, you would normally have to assess your employees manually to determine these worker types, and then if applicable, you'd manually assign the pension scheme to them. But that's where the pension assessment comes in. So the pension assessment, this is part of the pensions module for Sage 50 Payroll, and it's designed to make your pension duties quicker and easier. So it is an additional module to subscribe to in Payroll, but the pension assessment includes the pensions module includes the pension assessment, as well as a couple of other options, including sending pension correspondence, which I will be covering later on in the webinar too. Now, the pension assessment, it assesses your employees automatically. It assigns the appropriate worker category to them, And if an employee is assessed as eligible for automatic enrolment, it will automatically assign your pension scheme to them as well. It allows you to easily filter and view any changes that have happened each period, automatically calculates the contributions for both the employee and the employer, and it does also allow you to efficiently manage opt-in and opt-out requests, as well as processing postponement as well. So really great option. It does ultimately save you a lot of time, especially if you've got quite a few employees to assess from one period to the next. As you know, it takes a lot of those manual tasks away. So before I show you the pension assessment itself as well, just a little tip on how you can check whether you've already got the pensions module as well. So just a tip from us, if you just click on the pension assessment option in Payroll, you'll get one of these windows come up. Now, if Payroll prompts you to take a backup, this means your license does have the pensions module, because it's kind of prompting you to take that step. Or if it asks you to subscribe instead, so that window on the right-hand side, this means that your license doesn't include it, so you would have to subscribe in order to use the option. So just a little way of how you can check there. And let's see when you would run the pension assessment in your pay run as well. So the pension assessment, you would run this after you've entered the payments for your employees, but before your pre-update reports. So this means that you've got any wages entered for your employees, so the wages can be assessed appropriately. And also any changes that need to be made because of the pension assessment can be sorted prior to updating the records. The option can be found from either your payroll tasks, so that's where I'll be using it from today, or if you are a process map user, you can see it has its own step there, as shown on that screenshot. So whatever you would prefer, but you can find it in a couple of different places. So now that we know when to run the assessment, we will move on to how to run the pension assessment. Now, in terms of running the assessment itself, there's not too much to do other than click on it, but it is really important just to make sure that you've done things in the right order to ensure that the pension assessment assesses your employees accurately. So step one, you do want to ensure that you've got the correct process date in the programme. So this would be the date of your next pay run and the date that you're wanting to assess the employees for. And step two, of course, you do want to enter the payments for your employees as well. So these first two steps are important in just making sure that payroll uses obviously the correct payments and correct dates in the assessment. They can make a big difference to how they're assessed and kind of if, you know, the worker type changes, for example. So ultimately we'll make sure that they've got the correct worker category for your employees. After this, you'll just click on the pension assessment option. And of course, if you have that option in your subscription there, it will prompt you to take a backup. Very important to take a backup at this stage. The assessment will make changes to your employees based on their eligibility. So having a backup save just means that you can restore it if you need to get back to where you were before certain changes are made. Plus, it gives you that extra little bit of security for your data too. And then last but not least is to view the report. So view the pension assessment results. So the pension assessment will load up after this. It will assess your employees and you'll see something a little bit like this. So all of that information for you is on one page, just to make it easy to kind of view. And at this point, we're just going to dive straight into a demo and I want to show you what all of these different things mean. So I'm logged into my company. And the first thing I'm going to do is double check my process date. So my next pay date and the one that I'm assessing for is just going to be 30th of June. So I'll click OK. I've got a monthly payroll and I'll just pay on the last day of each month. So that was step one, check the process date. Now step two is to enter the payments for my employees. So I'm just going to highlight the employees there. Now I have actually, for the sake of the webinar, I've already done that for this period just to save a little bit of time. Everyone, to be honest, is the same each month mostly, but I do have a new starter this month. It's employee number 14. They've just started working with me this month. I do have another person as well who I've added on already, but they're not due to start until July, so we'll keep those deselected until next month when I process payroll. So I've highlighted everyone apart from the starter who's due in July. And then step three, again, this is from my payroll tasks. I'm going to click on the pension assessment option. Great, so you will see it prompts you to take a backup at this point. Very important to do so. So I'm just going to click yes and work through this wizard. And I'm just going to call this June monthly pension assessment, something like that, or pre-assessment, just so I know what that is. And once that backup's been successful, it will load up, it will assess your employees, and then come up with that pension assessment page. There we go. Remember as well, if you are a process map user, you can find that step on the process map. But yeah, pension assessment loads up. So it's looked at and assessed each employee. It's assigned a worker category to them. And this is what it has come up with for me this period. So we're just going to go through what everything means on here, starting from the left-hand side. So first column on the left here, this is just the employees who are currently selected. So they do have a tick in this box. Of course, you can deselect everyone or select everyone just using that top one, or just as needed, highlight whoever you need to there, if you need to make any changes, for example. Next column here, this does actually show little flags in here. So it does look mostly blank, a couple of different flags here, and these are actually showing changes this period. So there's been 2 employees who've had a change in this period. And if you hover over the flag, it does actually provide details on what those changes are. So employee number 7, I've hovered over this, and I can see that their worker categories changed this period. They've actually started working with me full time, and because they've got higher earnings now, this means their worker categories changed to eligible, and as a result of this, they've been automatically enrolled into my pension scheme. So I can see that reflected there, eligible and automatically enrolled on the right-hand side. I've also got employee number 14 with changes too, so this is my new starter. They've just started with me this month, and this first wage has been assessed for them. Their age has been assessed as well, and they've been assessed as eligible. So same again, they've been automatically enrolled into my pension scheme with their contributions showing on the right-hand side. So these flags will let you know of any changes this period, just a nice easy way to kind of view those. Next, we've got the employee's name, the employee's number and national insurance number, so pretty straightforward there. But next column I want to talk about is the worker type and status columns. So as you can see, a fair amount of my employees are eligible, but I do have a few people who aren't. So employee number 6, for example, they're non-eligible. Same with employee number 11 as well. And if you do want to know why a particular employee has this worker type, you do have a little magnifying glass just next to their status here. So for employee number 6, for example, if I hover over this magnifying glass, it gives me a bit more detail on that. So employee number 6 is non-eligible. They've got qualifying earnings of £1,744. So they are earning more than enough to be eligible. But because we can see they're 74 years old, this means they're over state pension age and they're actually too old to be eligible. So as a result, they've fallen into that non-eligible category. And same with employee number 11, if we just check them, they're again earning the same amount, so earning more than enough to be eligible, but this time they're only 21. So you actually need to be 22 to be eligible. So they haven't quite hit that age bracket there, hence why they fall into the non-eligible worker type. Now, I do believe that their birthday is coming up soon. So once it does come up, again, they'll be reassessed that period. And if they were still earning the same amount, they would then be eligible and automatically enrolled at that stage. Notice as well, just in that next step section of this little pop-up, these employees do still have the right to opt into the scheme if they wish. So if they did want to opt in, they would contact you, the employer, and as per one of your ongoing duties, you would have to process this request. Now you can do this in the pension assessment. You do have the option in the top left here, but I'll come back to these options a little bit later in the webinar. 2 more employees that I want to talk about in here as well, slightly different worker type for these, is employee number 8 and 9. We can see they're both entitled employees. So again, I'll hover over the magnifying glass and we can see that the employees are the correct age to be eligible. So they're 39 and 31. So they are between 22 and state pension age, but because they're not earning enough, they're only earning about £350 a month. This means that they fall into the entitled worker type. So these are just part-time employees for me. Now again, notice in the next steps, these employees have the right to join the scheme if they wish. So if they wanted to join, they could let you know and you'd be able to process that in here. Little tip as well for entitled employees, so employees number 8 and 9, if they wanted to join the scheme, the employer doesn't have to contribute. But whereas employee number 6 and 11, because they're non-eligible, if they wanted to opt into the scheme, the employer does have to contribute. So that's the difference there between those two worker types for the employee. And if you did have any employees who'd opted in or opted out, for example, this would show in the status column here as well. So I'll be showing you that in a little bit in the webinar, and you'll be able to see that kind of status change for them too. So next columns, we do have just the name of my pension scheme that they're enrolled into. Mine's just called My Pension Scheme, followed by the contributions. So you've got the employee and employer contributions. There is also a refund column. So if the employee wanted to opt out and there was a refund to show, you'd be able to see that there. And then lastly, you've got the totals of each row as well. So each kind of employee's total on the right-hand side. So that is the main section of the report. As I said just a little bit before as well, you do have the options in the top left to either opt in or join, opt out or leave, and postpone as well. And I'd also like to point out in the top right corner, you do have the option to filter the employee list. So if you only wanted to see employees who've changed this period, for example, you can filter that there. We can see employees 7 and 14. But I'm just going to leave that as all. If you've got a lot of employees as well, you can just search for their name or their national insurance number, and that will come up with them in the search results too. So really helpful if you've got a lot of employees to look through and kind of check each period. Bottom left, you do have the options to swap or clear your selection. So another way of kind of quickly selecting or deselecting them. And depending on how many employees you've got selected, these numbers at the bottom will change too. So we can see I've currently got 14 employees selected. It gives me a total of the kind of payment there as well. But that will change depending on, again, how many employees I've got highlighted. And a last thing as well, just in the bottom right, I want to talk about are these export options too. So not only is assessing your employees each time you pay them one of your pension duties, but so is keeping record of who's joining or leaving the scheme. So these options in the bottom right are going to be really helpful for you here. You can either email, you can print, or you can export a CSV file if needed. So you'll be able to get this kind of whole report window and any changes that have happened each period and keep them for your own records. Now, even if there haven't been big changes, I would advise just keeping record of this somehow. Then at least you've got a good understanding of what's happening with everyone. And of course, you're keeping record of that information too. But the pension assessment, great place to see all of this information in one place, so all on one page for you. And again, it does take away that manual burden of assessing all of your employees and manually assigning the scheme too. So I do just want to go back to the slides. We'll have a little bit of a recap of the kind of navigation of the pension assessment there, just what I showed you on that report. So first thing that I showed you there, if you do hover over the flag icon, that will show you any changes that have happened this period for the employee and what those changes are. Top right, you do have the option to filter your employee list or search for particular employees. You can view the worker category and status of an employee just in the type and status columns. And if you do want to know a bit more about the status or the employee's next steps, you can hover over the magnifying glass just next to their status too. Of course, you can view the employee and employer pension contributions, any refunds and totals on the right-hand side. And lastly, you do have the options in the top left to process opt-in, join requests, opt-out or leave requests, and postponement for your employees as well. So speaking of those options in the top left, that does bring us nicely onto the next section. And this is going to be all about postponement, opting in and opting out as well. So before we go back to the demo, I do just want to go through a little bit of an overview of what these are. So as we now know, eligible employees are automatically enrolled into your pension scheme in the pension assessment. But for a variety of different business reasons, you could actually postpone an employee's automatic enrolment by up to 3 months. Now, you can only postpone it from your duty start date, a staff member's first day of employment, if you've had new starters, for example, or the date that a staff member first becomes eligible for automatic enrolment, so if the worker category is changed, for example. Postponement is commonly used to delay automatic enrolment for temporary staff. So you might have had maybe some people working over the summer or over Christmas who are only going to be with you for maybe 3 months or less, or for staff who begin work on a probationary period. So you might want to postpone them for those reasons. Dead straightforward to do so though in the pension assessment. I will show you this in a moment. And while we're on the slides as well, a little bit on opting in and opting out. So opting in or joining, I did touch on this before, but this is for employees who are non-eligible or entitled. Non-eligible employees, these have the option to opt into your scheme. They can do this by writing to you, the employer, and if they do opt in, the employer must contribute as well. Whereas entitled employees who join your pension scheme, again, they'll still write to you, you'll still have to process this, but this time the employer can choose to contribute. So it all depends on which worker category they fall into, but that's the kind of main difference there between non-eligible and entitled. Then of course you've also got opting out. So opting out of the scheme, this is when an employee decides to leave your pension scheme within a month of being enrolled, and that's known as the opt-out period. Eligible employees who are automatically enrolled, they must request opting out through the pension provider. The pension provider will then inform you of the request, which you can process in Sage 50 Payroll. Now, after that opt-out period of 1 month, an employee can still leave your pension scheme, so they can still leave after that opt-out period, but instead their status in the pension assessment would show as cessation, so they've left the scheme, but they've left outside of that opt-out period. And then linking to opting out as well, just a little bit about pension refunds. So you must provide a full refund of any contributions if the employee's opted out within that opt-out period, so that first month. But if the employee's left the scheme outside of the opt-out period, but a refund is still applicable, you can still process a refund, but this will have to be through Enter Payments instead of the pension assessment, as the pension assessment won't allow it after the opt-out period. Now with this, do double check the refund policies with your pension provider, though it can be different depending on who you're with and the particular situation with the employee. But I've linked more information on this slide, just providing a bit more information on refunds, how to manually process them through Enter Payments as well if you need to. So should your employee have missed that opt-out period but still need a refund, you'll know exactly what to do there. But with that being said, let's go to our next demo. I do want to show you an example of each of these options. So I'm still in the pension assessment for June. And just a reminder, the only employees with a change flagged this period was employee number 7 and employee number 14. So employee number 7 was due to their earnings, and employee number 14, of course, was my new starter. So as part of my employer duties, I would need to write to employees number 7 and 14 just to let them know that they've been automatically enrolled and what this means for them. And that's known as sending pension correspondence, which I'll show you a little bit later. But these employees will then have the right to opt out if they wish, which they could request through the pension provider. But now that I've finished my assessment for June, we'll pretend that I've exported that and saved that record there, but I'm just going to close it. And at this point, I would just continue with my pay run as normal. So any of the pre-update tasks that I needed to do, and then I would go ahead and update the records. And I am just going to skip ahead to that for today's webinar. Always take a backup at that point as well. Always good to have a pre-update backup to go back to if you need to. But I've updated the records for 30th of June, and I can see that reflected there in the last updated column. So let's skip ahead a little bit more. We'll pretend that I've finished June, I've sent my FPS, and we'll fast forward a month, and I've come back to do payroll to process July. So first things first, I'm going to change my process date to my next pay date, which would be 31st of July, and click OK. Because there is a couple more things that I'd like to show you in the pension assessment. So remember, step 1 of running the pension assessment was changing your process date. Step 2 would be to go to Enter Payments. So I've got my new employee starting with me in July. I'll make sure they're selected in this process too. And then I'll go to Enter Payments. Now, pretty much everyone is the same each period, but I do have a couple of changes to make. So employee number 7, they're actually due a pay rise. Their contract's changed. So they've had an increase to their pay, and they're now going to be paid £825 a month. So I'll just make sure I've changed that there. And I just want to double check employee number 15, just my new starter, just to see that their salary is in there all okay as well. Yep, that's absolutely fine. So I'm good to go ahead and close enter payments. So that was step 2. And step 3, I can move on to run the pension assessment. So from our payroll tasks, again, step 3, just click on pension assessment. And again, do make sure to take a backup when it prompts you, because it will make changes if there are any to be made. And again, I'm just going to call this July monthly pre-assessment. And once that backup's been taken, we can see it goes through, assesses your employees with that loading bar, and then it will come up with the pension assessment screen. So here is July's pension assessment, and I can see there are a few flag icons on the left. So there have been some changes to my employees, but this time it's different employees. So first of all, employee number 8, we can see the worker categories that changed this period. This must have been due to the increase to their pay. And if we just look, we can see they're now non-eligible. And if they wanted to opt into the scheme, they would be able to. Next is employee number 11. So they have had their birthday, they've turned 22, and because of that, they've been reassessed this period and they are now eligible. So thanks to that change in their age, their worker category is now changed to eligible. And as a result, they've been automatically enrolled into my pension scheme. And then we've also got a change for employee number 15. So this is my new starter. Again, the programme knows that they're new. They've been assessed there as eligible. And again, as a result, automatically enrolled into my pension scheme. So I'm happy with everything there. But there are a couple of changes that I need to make. So first of all, if I just deselect everyone, first employee I want to focus on is employee number 15. So this employee is actually a temporary member of staff. They're only going to be working with us for around 3 months or so over the summer period, as it is a bit busier for us. So what I'd like to do is postpone their automatic enrolment. So remember, I can postpone them for up to 3 months from their start date. Nice and easy to do so as well. I've just selected the employee, and I'm just going to go up to that postpone option in the top left. And in here, you're able to enter the date that you want to postpone them until. So in this calendar icon, if you just notice, if I skip ahead 3 months, the calendar actually greys out any dates beyond 3 months from the start date. So the longest I can postpone this employee's automatic enrolment until is the 6th of October 2025. So I'll select that date there, click postpone, and we can see we do get a little bit more information. So the following change has been successfully applied, and then just a bit more information. They've been postponed until that date, and then once that postponement date comes around, they will be reassessed at that point. So this employee, they will be leaving at the beginning of September anyway, but if they were still employed, when that date comes around in October, again, they'd be reassessed at that point, and if they remained eligible, they would then be automatically enrolled at that point. But that's how to postpone an employee, and we can see straight away their status has changed to postponed. So that's been reflected there in the pension assessment. And of course, their contributions are all showing as 0 too. And just a reminder, you can postpone for up to 3 months from the employee's start date, your duty start date as an employer, or the date a staff member first becomes eligible for automatic enrolment. So an example of that would be that the employee's worker categories changed due to a change in their age or wage. But that's the first change I need to make all processed. A couple more that I need to process this month as well. So employee number 8, they've actually written to me and they've asked to opt into the pension scheme. So I just need to process this. As we can see, they recently became non-eligible. So we can see that reflected with this flag here. So once they opt into the scheme, I, as the employer, will need to contribute as well. So I've just selected them on the left. I'm going to go ahead and click opt-in/join. And just a little bit of information in here to fill in. So first of all, the date that I've received that request from the employee. which is the 11th of July. And then we just need to select the pension scheme that we want to enrol them and opt them into. So my pension scheme, that's the only one I've got set up on this company. If you do want to attach the request that they've given you, you do have that option as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and click opt in. Again, a little bit more information about the opt-in itself, but we'll click OK. And again, straight away, I can see that reflected in the pension assessment. The status now says opt-in. And if you hover over that magnifying glass, we can see a bit more information there. So their enrolment date is set to the next relevant period, with the enrolment date set to the 6th of August 2025. And last change that I need to make is for employee number 14. So remember, this employee was automatically enrolled this last month. They were my new starter. And I'd sent my pension correspondence to them to let them know what this means for them. But since then, they've actually contacted the pension provider and they've opted out of the scheme. And I recently received this notice from Nest, my provider. So I now need to process this opt-out request in Payroll. Very similar to the opt-in, I'm just going to select the employee, but this time click opt-out/leave. And again, you're just going to pop in that date that you received the request. So this was the 11th of July. If they've used the extension period, you can tick this box. This is for situations where the opt-out request isn't quite correct. It does allow you to extend the opt-out period for up to 6 weeks, just to allow the employee to complete the form correctly. Depending on when they've opted out as well, you will also have the option to refund the first month's contributions, again, depending on the dates that you've entered and whether they've opted out within that opt-out period. So my employee hasn't, hence why it's greyed out there. But when you tick this, the refund amount will show in this box for you. And the employer's refund will also show on the main pension assessment screen too. The employee's payslip as well, that would show the correct split between the employee and employer refund. Alternatively as well, if the refund is going to be processed by the pension provider, you can select that box too. Again, option to attach that request from the employee if you'd like, but I'm just going to go ahead and click opt out. Again, a bit more information on that request, but we can see it's been successfully applied. So I'll click OK. And again, straight away, I can see that change reflected there. Now, because they've opted out outside of the opt-out period, we can see it doesn't say opt-out and instead it says cessation. But if they did opt out within that opt-out period, again, it would show as opt-out and they would see a refund amount, depending on whether we'd selected that they wanted to refund those contributions there and tick that box. So that's all the changes that I need to make this period. I've now successfully postponed employee number 15. I've opted in employee number 8 and opted out employee number 14. So that's all the changes. At this point, again, I would just save a record of the pension assessment this period, just to keep record of this. But at this point, I'm just going to click close and I would just carry on with my payroll completely as normal. But that is the pension assessment, so it takes away the manual task of assessing your employees each period and determining whether they need a scheme assigned to them. As we've seen, it will do all of that for you. Now, another feature of the pensions module that I want to talk about, and I have kind of touched on it a couple of times during the webinar, this time it's sending pension correspondence. This is actually a post-update task. So as I say, a couple of times during the webinar, I've mentioned sending pension correspondence. So under automatic enrolment, one of your legal duties is to write to your employees to keep them informed of their enrolment status and rights. And the send pension correspondence option allows you to do exactly that. So it will allow you to print or email pension letters. So it can produce general notices, enrolment, postponement and re-enrolment letters. And it will also keep historical letters that have been sent to your employees as well, just so you've got record of all of this. Now, if you want your employees to receive these letters via email, you will need to ensure that the employees are set up to receive documents via email in their record as well. But you will find this setting and fail to enter their email address in the analysis tab of their employee record, just to be aware of that. But as you can see on the image on this slide as well, it is a post-update task. And we'd recommend checking for letters each time that you process payroll, just to make sure that you keep on top of those, and then of course send them by the due dates as well. But let's go back to the last demo of the webinar. I would like to show you around this option. So firstly, I did say it's a post-update task, so I'm just going to skip ahead and update the records for July. So I've already checked my process date, of course. I'm just going to go ahead and quickly update the records. And then you will find this option either on the process map, or if you scroll down in your payroll tasks, you've got the option there for send pension correspondence. So I will just click on this. And if you've got any letters to be sent, they will appear in here along with their details. So we can see I've got 10 letters to be sent. On the left, I've got the employee's name. I've got the type of letter that's being produced for them, and as well the due date, so the date that it needs to be sent by. Again, similar to the pension assessment, you've got the filter options and search options in the top right. So if you need to, look for something in particular, a particular type of letter, or a particular employee, you've got that option there. And notice each letter looks like it has a kind of link on it as well, so you are able to preview them if you need. So for example, if you've got a couple of employees with a few letters, so employee number 14, for example, I've got 2, same with employee number 15, you can actually click on this and preview the letter. Just check kind of what letter it is and which needs to be sent. And then just click close and kind of send them or mark them as sent as necessary. But from here, you will be able to select the letters and the employees on the left-hand side. On the right, you will be able to enter the sent on date and sent by. This does default just to today's date, but of course change that to whatever's necessary there. And then in the sent by option, you've got the option of it being sent by the provider. So if your provider sent it on your behalf, or if you've sent it, so you, the user, have sent that, you can select that too. Individually, you can just select them from there, but at the bottom, you do have the option to kind of multi-select. So if every one of these that I've selected was sent by the user, which it was, I can just select user to kind of populate all of those fields. Same with the date as well. So if I needed that to be changed to a particular date, we just said like 30th of June, for example, we can see that's reflected there. And once you've entered that information, you do then have the option to either show as sent. So if it's already been sent, you can tell payroll that that's the case, or you can send them from here. So I'm just going to go ahead and show these as sent. I had already sent these back in April, so I could do that. You can also produce additional copies as well. So if you do want a kind of, additional copy for you to keep, for example, you can tick that box to do that. But I'm just going to go ahead and show these as sent. We'll just wait for that to load there. And there we go. They will disappear from the list for you. Now, the rest of these letters, I will be sending these today. You can see I've got a different, a kind of mixture of different options here. So I've got general notices, got a couple of job holder letters. I've also got a postponement letter too. So that was obviously for employee number 15 who we'd postponed. Job holder letters, these are sent to employees who are automatically enrolled, and these must be sent within 6 weeks of enrolment. A couple of those general notices too, so these are for all employees who you employ at a company's duty start date. Again, they're sent within 6 weeks of the employee's right to opt in or join. So we can see employee number 14 and 15 have got one of them. They were new starters and are due to receive these letters. And then I also have that one postponement letter. So this just needs to be sent obviously to employee number 15 after I process their postponement. And this needs to be sent within 6 weeks after the employees become eligible for automatic enrolment. So I know that's a lot of information to take in about the different types of letters as well. But again, I have linked an article explaining each type of letter on the handout, what they mean, when they need to be sent, and all those different kind of timelines as well. But as I said, I am going to send the rest of these today. So I'm just going to select all of them on the left. At this point, I would just make sure I've selected the correct dates in here. Remember, you do have the option to select for all of them at once. It has defaulted to today's date, so I am just going to leave it as that for today, but please make sure you've checked this. And then I'm just going to select that they've all been sent by me as well. Again, you can do that individually in this drop down, but I'm just going to do for all of them using this one at the bottom. They haven't already been sent, so I'm going to go ahead and click send. I'll select my option as necessary in here, including whether I'd like them to be an additional copy produced, so a duplicate of each letter. I'm not going to do that today though. And then I would click send. So if you're printing them like me, you will see the normal kind of printer window come up where you can select the right settings for you. If you're emailing them though, the emails are going to be saved to Microsoft Outlook for you to send it straight from there, similar to how the payslips would be emailed to. I'll click OK, and I'm just going to save that here. Just going to call that July pension correspondence. And then we can see that's kind of loading through those letters. There we go. And we can see now that we've saved those, I can print those at a later date, of course, that was just my preference, but I've successfully produced those letters for 5 employees, and a copy of the letter has also been saved in the employee's record as well. So I'll click OK. The letters have been sent, so they've disappeared from that list. But I did also say it does keep a log of all of the letters sent, so we can see different tabs along the left here. So you can either view the historical letters that have been sent either by date, so you can see you've got different kind of periods there, or by employee too. So if I wanted to just see employee number 15's letters, for example, I could select them there, and I've got them to either look at or export again if I needed to. So totally up to you, but you will have access to all of the historical letters that have been sent as well. But from here, I would just click close. So that was the send pension correspondence option. Remember, I have linked more information on the slides about this as well. But just a bit of a recap of, again, the navigation of that window. So once you're in that window, you are able to preview letters to be sent, and also the due by date as well, so the date that they need to be sent by. You can filter the list by type of letter or search for employees by name, similar to how you can in the pension assessment. And same again, you would just select the employees using those tick boxes. You do also have the swap or clear option in the bottom too, to kind of multi-select quickly. You can enter the sent on date and choose whether it was sent by either you, the user, or by your provider. You can show the letters as sent. If they have already been sent in the past, you can make sure that payroll knows that, or just send them directly from here by either printing or emailing. And you can also view historical correspondence either by date or by employee, so whatever you would prefer with that. And again, more information on those different auto-enrollment letter types, just using that that kind of article there at the bottom. So we'll have the kind of when they need to be sent by, and what each kind of letter includes there as well. But with that being said, we have made it to the end of the pension assessment webinar. So before we wrap things up, I do just want to go through a little bit of further support with you, and we'll start with the upcoming webinars. So for webinars, me and Duncan have loads coming up end of this month, of course, and leading into next month as well. Last few pension sessions this week, and loads in July coming up. So to tell you a little bit more about the rest of this pension series, I do have a short video to show you. So I'll play this video, and then I'll be back in a moment just to continue with the further support.
Get ready to earn your pension discovery badge with Sage 50 Payroll. Join us this June for our fantastic new webinar series, where you'll learn everything you need to know about pensions to get you ready to confidently process pensions for your employees. With 7 live sessions and a fun learning quiz in the last session. Whether you're new to pensions or a dab hand, we have something for everyone. Here is what we've got lined up for you. Make a strong start to your pension processing with foundational knowledge on the basics of pensions and salary sacrifice pensions in Sage 50 Payroll. Explore how pension contributions are calculated and how your employees are assessed for automatic enrolment. We'll also take you through our 3 most popular sessions: navigating enrolment, getting started with pensions module, and using pensions data exchange to send your pension data to your provider with ease. And lastly, backed by popular demand, test your knowledge with our Pensions Discovery Quiz to see what you've learned across the sessions. Now, how do you get your hands on your Pensions Discovery digital badge? Simply attend 5 out of 7 of the live sessions and our quiz to earn your badge. And don't forget, you get free access to our new Accredible portal to manage your badges, so you can quickly and easily share your badge on socials for everyone to see. Don't miss out. Secure your spot and join us for an unforgettable learning experience this June by signing up at sage.co.uk/webinars. We'll see you there.
Great, that's just me back again. That was just my colleague Matt telling you more about this Pensions Discovery 2025 badge series and the rest of the sessions that we've got coming up this week. Remember, we do also have loads coming up in July as well, so if you want to see more about that, just go to sage.co.uk/webinars. A little bit more further support for you as well, though. We of course have the help centre, so sage.co.uk/help. Most of the help articles that I've linked on the slides have come from this help centre, so you can search the knowledge base, you can access those different support guides. We've got a whole webinar section as well, so if you want to view previous recordings of sessions that we've done in the past, you can do so there. There will also be like a demonstration videos on the articles too, and we do have contact options if you do need to get into contact with us, for example, technical support. And then lastly, Sage University. So this is just sageu.com. Here you'll be able to set up a free account and you can access different e-learning and bite-sized learning courses, as well as earning product certification too. So if you've got Sage 50 Payroll, Sage 50 Accounts, Sage HR, for example, loads of different learning paths for different Sage products on there. Great way to expand your knowledge on them too. But that has brought us to the end of our webinar, so thank you so much for your time today. I just want to say, if you are leaving us now, remember that you can download the handouts and feel free to copy and paste the Q&A if you would like to keep any of those questions and answers. And last ask from me, there will be a short survey that you'll get as you exit the webinar. If you do have just a moment to fill that out, me and Duncan would really appreciate that. We do read all of the feedback that you leave us, and yeah, try to make these webinars the best that they can be. But I can still see a couple of questions there in the Q&A, so I'm just going to go on to mute for a few minutes just to help wrap up those questions. So stick around while I do, and again, feel free to copy and paste those if you need. But for the rest of you, keep an eye on your emails for a recording of the webinar coming through, and that should be later on this afternoon. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Would love to see you on another webinar very soon, hopefully one of the pensions sessions, or of course the upcoming sessions in July as well. But on behalf of me and Duncan, we will see you next time, and it is goodbye for now.